Pretty Little Liars, an American teen drama that graced our small screens with an intriguing mystery for 7 years. You wouldn't think a guy like me would bother to watch a series that has a demographic target of young adults, specifically little girls. But somehow, the show managed to capture my attention, and boy am I glad it did, because it quickly became my favorite show
of all time.
It was the summer of 2013. Just after the mid-season 4 finale, which was also known as World War A, is when I became an avid viewer of this guilty pleasure show. I would keep seeing these recaps on IMDb under TV news, and every week, Pretty Little Liars would have articles over the last episodes with descriptions stating it as more twisted than ever, or how the closing moments of the previous episode were shocking, and that is when I knew I was missing out on something spectacular. As a horror fan, I wanted to see what this freeform series, which was formerly known as ABC Family when it premiered back in 2010, was all about. I was also curious to see how Pretty Little Liars would push the envelope with the horror and suspense due to the network that it was on, because you wouldn't expect dark and mature content on their platform. But surprise, Pretty Little Liars went there sometimes, even more so after the network name change, which included a full-on decapitation.
Oh my god! Oh my god, it's a head! Oh my god, it's a real head!
Pretty Little Liars is more than just a silly teen drama. It's basically a softcore horror slasher with a compelling story, creepy dolls, masks that will haunt your dreams, and an anonymous cyberstalker that follows their victims in the shadows as they make their lives a living hell.
No fun chugging lake water, is it? Choke on this bitch.
Oh my god! Oh, I'm gonna be sick.
At a superficial level, you wouldn't think this girly teen production on ABC Family would house an abundance of horror references and death, but deep down, the foundation of this show is centered around the sudden and mysterious disappearance of a young girl named Allison De Laurentiis, the mean queen bee of her school. Okay, more like the mean bitch of her small town Rosewood, and someone is pissed and out for blood.
Half this town wanted that girl to disappear.
Because I have such a strong love for horror, I really appreciated the little nods and allusions the show gave to those classic films that we watched as kids, like Halloween, to more modern horror films in the later seasons. So today, I thought it would be fun to break down every major and minor horror movie reference made throughout the entirety of the original Pretty Little Liars. Some of these nods are blatantly obvious, while others are so minuscule that it's basically a blink and you miss it type of reference, whether it's through dialogue or something that was briefly seen on screen. I won't be doing any literary references like from books or plays. This is a movie list only. I'm going to start with the smallest references first and work our way towards the more fun and obvious ones. While I was working on this video, I noticed that some of these may lean towards the thriller genre than the horror, but thriller can be scary sometimes. Just imagine being in the situation, and I'm sure you will feel terrified. First up, we have the old-time classic, Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. This is quickly mentioned in Season 1, Episode 12, Salt Meets Wound, when Mona is visiting Hannah at her house after Hannah's release from the hospital. She freaks out and tells Mona not to answer it. Mona then says, "Oh hush, Baby Jane," which is funny because Hannah is wheelchair-bound after getting hit by a car.
No, wait, Mona, don't open the door! Call the police!
Oh, hush, baby Jane.
Mona, don't!
In the movie, Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, one of the two sisters is confined to a wheelchair after the other sister smashes her legs with a car on accident. I noticed that in Pretty Little Liars, they switched the hair color of the character in the wheelchair with the one who is ambulatory. Hannah is blonde and a sweet character who can't walk at the moment, while Mona has dark colored hair and can walk. Baby Jane is a blonde-haired character who can walk and is mean-spirited, fueled by jealousy, while her successful sister Blanche is rocking the wheelchair and is a nice person. So I thought this was fun that they switched it up in Pretty Little Liars. The second reference we have is Carrie. The movie Carrie is briefly mentioned in Season 5, Episode 25, Welcome to the Dollhouse, during a conversation between the Liars and Mona in Charles's bunker. Mona asks if they were gifted a gas mask because she thinks Charles is going to do something later during the prom event. Emily then says, "So a night of the opera is going to turn into a scene from Carrie?"
Why would A give you a gas mask? Allie's his favorite. I think after the prom, she's the only one he wants to keep.
So our night at the opera is going to turn into a scene from Carrie?
Carrie is actually referenced way before in Season 3, Episode 5, That Girl is Poison, when Spencer asks why Jenna is inviting them to her birthday party. She suggests it's because Jenna can drop a vat of pig's blood on them.
What is the purpose of this party? Is it really to celebrate Jenna's birthday, or is it just to get us all in the same room so she can drop a vat of pig's blood on us?
She's not dropping anything on me.
We all know what happens during the prom scene in Carrie. A major bloodbath ensues. And the Liars' prom was just the tip of the spear of the nightmare that was about to follow. Next up, we have is Chucky.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Chucky, again, is briefly mentioned twice in the entire run of Pretty Little Liars, and both times are said during season 2. In episode 16, Let the Water Hold Me Down, Spencer and Arya are trying to find out where A bought from a receipt found in Spencer's attic. When they get to the location based on the address found on said receipt, Spencer says it could be the same location where A bought all the girls' versions of Chucky dolls.
Well, there's a toy store down the road. I mean, maybe A sent Lucas down here to pick up that 4-pack of Chucky dolls.
Chucky is mentioned again in episode 22, Father Knows Best, when the girls go to Brookhaven and stumble upon a doll factory, and Emily suggests that is where A bought the creepy Chucky dolls.
Those look exactly like those creepy Chucky dolls that Ace sent us.
Pretty Little Liars has a variety of masks. Masks seem to be everywhere after a certain point in the series, and this next reference in horror is a mask that Caleb wears during the Halloween special in Season 3, Episode 13, This Is a Dark Ride. Caleb is the Phantom from Phantom of the Opera.
Hey, you know what? Do that again, you'll leave with a bloody stump. Okay, no means no, Opera Boy. Stop!
But unbeknownst to Hannah and everyone else that is on board, but not only is Caleb sporting the Phantom outfit, but Mona is as well. The next horror movie to be referenced is the slasher, Alice Sweet Alice. At least I think it's a reference, but I could be wrong and it might be reaching here. But in the webisodes Pretty Dirty Secrets, Jason is walking around the Halloween store, costumes, and Cece comes up behind him wearing one of those creepy see-through masks.
Listen, you little...
You've been avoiding me.
It looks oddly familiar to the mask used by the killer in Alice Sweet Alice, which is also see-through, and the makeup on both masks seem to be the same style. More iconic masks from slasher movies are seen in the Halloween store, like Killer Clowns from Outer Space, Ghostface from Scream,
Every day, including Halloween.
and one iconic Pretty Little Liars mask used by A, which brings me to my next horror reference, and that is The Hills Run Red. I have never seen this movie before, but I only know about it because a long time ago, way before Pretty Little Liars aired on TV, a friend of mine bought this on DVD, which is a straight-to-video type film. And I looked at the cover in the back of the case, and it features a terrifying mask of a baby doll that the killer wears. When watching Pretty Little Liars for the first time, and getting into the first of the 3 Halloween episodes, which are all great by the way, I noticed that the mask used to taunt Allie in Season 2, Episode 13, The First Secret, looked so much like the one in The Hills Run Red.
Freak!
Now again, this may be a stretch and could be another baby face doll mask, but I couldn't help myself from trying to make a connection. The baby face doll mask is used twice more, once in the following Halloween episode of Season 3, Episode 13, This Is a Dark Ride.
It's just a costume. It doesn't mean anything anymore.
And again in Season 5, Episode 13, How the A Stole Christmas.
You're okay.
The Christmas special also contains a huge nod to an old film that I will get into very soon, and it's not the kid-friendly How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Going back to the world of classic films with this next reference, and one of the many from the legend of horror and thriller, Alfred Hitchcock, we have The Birds. I would like to think this is in fact a nod to The Birds found in Season 4, Episode 6, Under the Gun. Spencer and Toby are visiting Ravenswood and notice that Shauna is also in town. When Shauna gets into Jenna's car, Spencer and Toby try to quickly chase after her, but a bird slams into the windshield of Spencer's car and a flock of crows or ravens are seen flying above them.
Oh my god.
The movie counterpart is about the residents of a small town who are suffering from a pandemic of crazy killer birds. I've never seen this movie before, but clips of it because my mom watched it when I was a kid, but I remember a scene of a woman in a phone booth and you could see all sorts of birds slamming into the glass. Also, I just noticed something recently as I was gathering all of these clips for the video, but the lead actress in The Birds is named Tippi Hedren. And what was the bird's name that Allison talked to that was later given to Hannah through Allie's mom? Tippi.
What was that?
That was a gift from my late mother-in-law. Come, meet Tippi.
Hannah, it's not a song that Tippy's singing. It's a phone number.
My mind is kind of blown right now, to be honest, because I literally realized the connection to the name reference just recently. If my mom had watched this with me, she would have pointed that out quickly. This next nod to horror is not really a nod at all, it's more like a product placement. It's an advertisement for the movie Insidious 2. Parts of the trailer is shown in Season 4, Episode 8, The Guilty Girl's Handbook, while Arya is flipping the channel to see what's on TV, and Insidious 2 pops up.
Now, what are you in the mood for? Comedy, rom-com, sci-fi? Insidious 2.
This one looks even more terrifying.
It has been a long time since I watched Insidious 2, and I don't remember anything, but supposedly Marlene had mentioned the movie in the plot in a tweet or an interview and how the story is connected to A's identity. I could be wrong though, but in Insidious 2, it is eventually revealed that the bride in black is actually a man named Peter Crane, a serial killer who was abused by his mother for acting male, leading him to murder multiple women as an adult while dressed as a woman. In Pretty Little Liars, we know Charles had transitioned into Charlotte, but no physical abuse was made towards Charles, except for maybe later on when he was committed into Radley after hitting Allison with the rock. Is that abuse? Charlotte was in Radley for years and years, so it's subjective if that's considered abuse. Was this the biggest clue that Marlene gave us back in the day? I don't know because I wasn't on Twitter back then, but this seems like a legitimate hint. With the small nods now out of the way, we are going to get into the major and well-known horror associations that are sprinkled throughout the entire run of Pretty Little Liars. And this is where I get extremely excited because, again, I love horror movies, and these nods are so on the nose of being obvious that it makes my
bloody horror heart happy.
This upcoming horror nod is where it starts to get really good. The opening segment for Season 2, Episode 14, Through Many Dangers, Toils, and Snares, features a small group of girls playing jump rope while singing a song. This is eerily familiar to the girls who are doing the same activity in one of the greatest slashers, A Nightmare on Elm Street. Thank God the girls don't have to worry about Mr. Krueger in this realm. The next major illusions, which I believe is a callback, and again I could be reaching here, but it's where my mind went to when I watched it live back in 2016, is made in Season 7, Episode 3, The Talented Mr. Rollins. After Allie attacks Archer, and Archer straps and bounds Allie to her bed. He then puts on a mask used for those that are biters. This reminded me of the mask Hannibal Lecter wore in Silence of the Lambs, who is a biter if you all know what I mean. Okay, so as I was compiling these clips together, I noticed that I may have missed this other silence nod, and it's during the Season 6 premiere, Game On Charles. Charles puts Mona in a well hole and keeps her there to die.
Charles? Is that you? No, don't go. Don't go, please.
In Silence of the Lambs, the killer traps his victims in a well and taunts them.
If you let me go, I won't press charges, I promise. See, my mom is a real important woman. I guess you already know that.
The mid-Season 7 finale brings us our last horror nod from the series, and it's a modern film at that, which is made in the same year this episode came out. Episode 10, The Darkest Night, has a scene where after the arrival of the girls at the blind school, the same one where Jenna attended, they get ambushed by the avenging blind girl and she is armed and dangerous. Jenna wants revenge against the liars for what they did to her all those years ago when they took her eyesight. When Jenna realizes the girls are at the school, she says and does something that's taken right from the movie Don't Breathe.
Tonight you get to be me. Now you see what I see.
In the trailer for Don't Breathe, two friends are running away from a mad blind man after they had broken into his home to steal some money. The man chases the two into his basement where he gains the upper hand against the protagonists. Once the blind man is in the basement, he turns the power off and says the line,
"Now you're gonna see what I see,"
which is what Jenna says to the girls after she shuts the power off. Even though the line isn't in the movie itself, it's actually said in the sequel Don't Breathe too. So now we are on our 12th movie. We are just a little halfway through, and this is a great one. It's my favorite holiday ever, and it happens to be a Halloween special during this illusion. In season 2, episode 13, The First Secret, the liars are walking home from school, and they stop when they reach an old and what seems like an abandoned house that is in derelict. Arya mentions how every time she walks past the house, she gets the creeps and a feeling that something horrible happened inside.
I wish they'd just tear this place down already. Every time I walk by here, I get the creeps.
It's just an ugly old house, Arya.
I can't explain it. I know, I feel like something really bad happened here.
When the girls walk away, we see that someone was inside watching them all along, and a car is parked outside that has Bradley Sanitarium's logo on the side of the door, hinting that someone had broken out of Bradley and stole one of the company's cars. To go home, perhaps? This is an obvious reference to the 1978 horror film Halloween. In the movie Halloween, right after the opening scene, we see Dr. Loomis driving in the rain where he stumbles upon a large crowd of patients that had somehow gotten out of their captivity. Michael Myers ends up stealing one of the hospital's cars from Smith's Grove Sanitarium and drives home.
Hey, jerk! Speed kills!
We see Laurie and Tommy walking to the Myers house, which is completely run down, just like how we saw in the Pretty Little Liars episode.
The Myers house.
The Myers house.
And Tommy tells Laurie that the boogeyman lives in that house, who happens to be inside watching them.
Hold up. I think there's somebody in there. Are you just trying to scare us? No, I swear, I just saw someone in the window.
Lonnie Eaton said never to go up there. Lonnie Eaton said that's a haunted house. He said awful stuff happened there once.
I know, I feel like something really bad happened here.
Michael stabbed his sister on Halloween night in the upstairs bedroom of the house, which is the creepy feeling Arya mentioned. Also, there's a scene where A is watching the girls from afar while they are getting costume ready in Spencer's house, which is what Michael does as he watches Laurie in the class from outside. This 13th reference is another Hitchcock film. Rear Window is a mystery thriller about a man who is stuck sitting at home with a broken leg, and he utilizes his boredom by peeping on his neighbors, eventually bringing out a camera to look closer at a specific apartment. I've never seen this movie as well, but I know there is a murder that takes place across the apartment complex, and Jeff starts to get worried, much like Toby in the Christmas special from season 5, episode 13, How the A Stole Christmas. After his motor incident in the previous episode, Toby is stuck sitting in a wheelchair, and him and Spencer come up with a plan where he will stay behind from attending the ice ball and will watch Allie's house next door. Toby uses his camera to watch what's unfolding as Spencer and Hannah go back to Allie's house to look for clues against Mona's murder. But trouble ensues when A is secretly hiding in the shadows within the house. Toby notices that A is hunting down the two liars with a giant kitchen knife that would make Michael Myers happy himself, and he tries his best to warn Hannah and Spencer. Movie 14 is a movie that I have never even heard of until after season 5, episode 6, Run Allie Run, premiered. This scene is from Dial M for Murder. It's actually foreshadowed in the previous episode when Allie is at Emily's house, and the TV shows a really quick snippet of the movie. In the following episode, when Allie is home packing up some things to leave town, she notices that someone is in the house. She is then ambushed by A, who is literally trying to kill her in the same style as we saw earlier on TV. I think in the movie, the killer suffocated his victim, and she tried to stab him. In Pretty Little Liars, A is using Allison's scarf to choke her and she attempts to stab A. Movie 15 is The Lady Vanishes. We are boarding the ghost train for this reference. During season 3, episode 13, This Is a Dark Ride, Arya is sitting down with a drink in hand at a table when Adam Lambert approaches her. When asking for her name, he is unable to hear her name due to the loudness of the train. Arya writes her name on the window, allowing Adam to know who she is.
What's your name? What? I can't hear you. What? Arya.
In The Lady Vanishes, two strangers are sitting at a table having small talk when one of them asks for the other's name. The young girl is unable to hear what the lady is saying because of the loud train, and so she writes her name on the window for her to read.
Have you seen Arya? Guess what? Look, I'm gonna guess later. Where's Arya?
Movie 16 is Vertigo, which is referenced in Season 1, Episode 22, For Whom the Bell Tolls. This is during the showdown when Ian is attacking Spencer at the church. He chases her up the stairs and they reach the top where he tries to kill her. And I think he was going to try to let her fall to her death, to make it look like it was a suicide.
The guilt was just too much for you.
Vertigo's final moments of the movie shows a man and a woman at a church where they ascend to the top. The man is trying to get answers as to what has been happening throughout the movie. They share a brief moment together when all of a sudden a shadowy figure appears, startling the woman, and she plummets to her death.
No! I heard voices.
What are you doing here?
Back to the Terror Train. I mean Ghost Train. The second Halloween special during the third season has one other major reference from another Jamie Lee Curtis film, titled Terror Train. First viewing of this episode reminded me so much of Terror Train because of the unique setting and it being on holiday. While Terror Train isn't set on Halloween like in This Is a Dark Ride, it's still rocking a party on New Year's, and the costumes are quite scary. The killer has 3 or 4 costumes they wear during the night, terrorizing those responsible for a terrible prank, and there's a chase scene between the killer and our favorite final girl in horror. Which resembles the chase scene between the Queen of Hearts and Spencer. This next movie is called Don't Look Now. In the movie Don't Look Now, the opening sequence, we see a young girl wearing a red coat and she is drowned on accident. Her father is grieving the loss of his child, and throughout the movie starts to see someone who is small wearing a red coat. He thinks it's his daughter, actually.
It's okay. I won't hurt you.
And starting from the season 2 finale, but more in season 3 and 4, we see someone, a villain, who is wearing a red coat. We don't see their face ever, just like we don't see the face in Don't Look Now until the very end. But the way the father sees this figure, we only get to see a glimpse of this girl in a red coat, just like in Pretty Little Liars. We don't see much of Red Coat. And I do think that Pretty Little Liars is referencing the movie Don't Look Now because of the red coat, the grieving father. I mean, the grieving father may not be like a specific plot point in Pretty Little Liars, but definitely how he is able to see or believe that whoever he is seeing is his little girl. I don't want to say anything else because the twist it's crazy. It's actually kind of crazy and scary if you've never seen it. I've seen clips of it on YouTube. So this last movie I have on the list is the biggest and most obvious nod to horror. And of course, it's a Hitchcock production. Any guesses as to what it is? The season 2 finale, Unmasked, features not one, not two, but multiple nods to the classic black and white slasher Psycho. When the girls go on a road trip based on a postcard found, they come across a hotel in the middle of nowhere. This is referring to the Bates Motel. The show even has their own version of Norman Bates.
You checking in?
Spencer fills out the guest sign-in sheet with a fake name just like Marion Crane did.
Welcome to the Lost Woods Resort. Mary Smith.
I knew you must have. Nobody ever stops here anymore unless they've done that.
Is room 1 available?
How'd you know about room 1?
Cabin 1.
The next day, we see A remove a picture off the wall, exposing a hole so they can spy on the
Seriously?
liars.
She still doesn't call back.
This happens in Psycho when Norman is spying on Marion as she undresses to take her shower. After the reveal of Mona being A and her near death, we see her sitting in an examination room. We hear Dr. Sullivan explaining how Mona was able to pull off all the things that she had done. But once she is done talking, we get an inner monologue from Mona.
I know they're watching me. They think it's over. Loser Mona's going to the nut house and those precious liars are going home.
This is the final moments in Psycho after Norman Bates has been apprehended for his crimes. We get the famous monologue about how he wanted her to fly, or how Mother wouldn't harm a fly, because he's Mother, right?
It's sad when a mother has to speak the words that condemn her own son. They're probably watching me. Let them see what kind of a person I am.
Now that we have reached the end of the references, let's take a deeper look at the plot of the series because I really want to dig into it and compare it to a couple of slashers. When I describe the premise of Pretty Little Liars, I sometimes mention that it's loosely similar to the movies Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer. The reason being is that in both of these movies, there is a death followed by a time jump and a killer arises, hell-bent on getting revenge from the previous year's incident, which usually involved a murder.
Although this is not the first time this small community of Woodsboro has endured such tragedy. Only a year ago, Maureen Prescott was found murdered not far from this peaceful town square.
Scream shows us a masked killer going after a group of friends during the 1-year anniversary of Sidney Prescott's mother's murder.
If I like that.
It's because there's no way a girl could have killed him.
That is so sexist. The killer could easily be female. Basic instinct.
That was an ice pick.
In I Know What You Did Last Summer, a group of friends accidentally kill a pedestrian on the highway and dump his body into the ocean. A year later, on the anniversary of the accident, someone comes back to haunt their lives.
David Egan. His girlfriend was killed on that same road July 4th 1 year earlier. Maybe he blamed himself. Maybe he was sitting in the road waiting for us to hit him.
In both movies, which is written by Kevin Williamson, the killer taunts their victims before killing them.
I don't remember a thing from the night Allie died.
Who gave you this? What does this mean?
They leave them notes and disturbing phone calls, which is what A does in Pretty Little Liars.
Hello?
Why don't you want to talk to me?
Who is this?
You tell me your name, I'll tell you mine.
I don't think so. Hello?
You have 1 minute. Get out!
After the opening scene in PLL, where the liars are having a sleepover, Allison goes missing and there's a time jump that follows. When the year anniversary of her disappearance arrives, the girls start getting weird messages from someone unknown who then tries to kill them. I know Cece said she never meant to hurt or actually try to kill any of her dolls, but let's face it, she probably wanted them dead during some of the attacks.
But I love all of my dolls.
But Cece is kind of like a ghost face or the fisherman because she disguises herself from being known until the big reveal where she betrays her own family, someone who's close to her, which is what we see in Scream all the time.
I mean, for fuck's sake, my own mother had to die. No great loss there, so I could stay true to the original.
And just when you thought I couldn't possibly bring in any more movies, I have one more. This film came out the same year as the pilot of Pretty Little Liars was being filmed. And I've seen many posts on Reddit and a certain reaction channel bring up how very similar this movie compares to Pretty Little Liars, and that is Sorority Row. This feels like a Pretty Little Liars movie because, again, there is a death, a time jump, a killer that is seeking vengeance against those that were responsible while wearing black, and it has a hoodie. The villain tortures their victims anonymously through texts, taunting them for their crimes, and not only are certain aspects of Sorority Row similar, but there are two actors that would appear in Pretty Little Liars. The first is Rumer Willis. She was in Season 4, Episode 7, The Guilty Girl's Handbook, as Emily's Habitat for Humanity scout. The other is Julianne Morris, who played Ren. Julian's character in Sorority Row is revealed to be the killer, and wasn't he kind of shady in Pretty Little Liars?
Andy, you can count on us. The 5 tenets of sister.
That girl really needs to learn to keep her mouth shut.
He always seems to be connected to A in her game. He's seen coloring in a picture of a girl wearing a red coat, and he was with Alex Drake until his demise. Is Sorority Row a Pretty Little Liars prequel? It very well could be. And not only that, but there is a scene in Sorority Row where the killer text messages the girls the murder weapon. And in Season 6, Episode 14, I think, New Guys, New Lies, we see A texting the girls the murder weapon of the golf club. And we know that the golf club was not the murder weapon, but that seems like something A would do in Sorority Row, texting the girls the murder weapon just to mess with them. All right, well, there it is, folks. That is all the nods and references that I found while watching this amazing and mysterious show. Did I miss any? I'm sure I might have missed a few because there are a lot of episodes and plot. My favorites were definitely Halloween, Terror Train, Don't Breathe, and Psycho. Also Sorority Row for shits and giggles. What are your favorites? Let me know below if you want. Thank you for watching this video. It took me forever to compile these clips together, and while I was writing the script, I kept remembering more and more, so I'm pretty sure I missed 1 or 2 other nods. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you around soon. Bye.